I wanted to talk about in this video the hardest part of learning machine learning for me. And maybe this is because of the background I came from. I come from a background in applied math rather than computer science, but I think this is going to resonate with a lot of people because this is an issue that kind of transcends just machine learning, and it really sort of leaks into anything that involves computer science and programming. And what I'm going to talk about is tutorial hell. And so if you don't know what tutorial hell is, it's this term that's used sort of colloquially to describe the concept of when you're trying to learn something and you watch tutorials to understand the concept or maybe to get yourself started, and you follow along with those tutorials and you implement them, but then you try to do something on your own and it's too ambitious or it's too difficult or it's too far outside the realm of what you're able to do, and so you go back and you watch some more tutorials, you follow those, you implement those, but then again, when you go and you try to make something yourself, you find that it's too difficult. The gap between your ability to follow the tutorial and your ability to do it yourself is too wide to be bridged. And so this is something that I struggled with for a long time. And so I would be, I'm doing my degree in applied math, but I'm also trying to learn programming on the side, and I'm trying to become competent in Python. And so for a long time, I would watch courses, like Learn Python courses, and I'd follow the courses, I would take notes, I would do the examples in the courses, but then I would never actually go and code myself. And so I would keep all this information in my head for a short period of time, and then eventually I wouldn't actually apply it to anything that was of my own construction. I'd be doing these examples and these projects that were given to me as a part of the course or as a part of like the YouTube tutorial, but once I finished those, I would set it down. I wouldn't have actually done any thinking for myself. I'd be following along an example that somebody else had already set out for me. And this inhibited my learning and my ability to actually pick up these topics for a very long time with both programming and machine learning. So I'll give you some examples of programming. So I would watch these Python courses, and I'd be like, oh, okay, this is what a class is, this is what a function is, this is what conditional statements are, this is what like a lambda function is, and some of these more esoteric things that Python has. And I'd be like, cool, awesome, I know all this information. And I'd even do like the example exercises that were recommended to me. But I would find that when I wanted to do a project on my own, I really would not know where to start. Everything that I thought was interesting was way too ambitious, and it was way above my skill level. And most things that I did try to do, oftentimes I felt like were beyond my current abilities. And so what that led me to do is it led me to go look up tutorials. Like for example, let's say I wanted to make some sort of app with like a front end, or I wanted to make, just like a very basic arithmetic program or anything like that. I would be like, okay, this would be a good project, and I'd start and I'd realize I don't even know what to do. I don't even know how to get started. And rather than just start trying stuff and just throwing stuff at the wall, I would become overwhelmed or discouraged, and I would go back to watching tutorials. And it was this vicious cycle of, I knew that I had to start doing things on my own and start building projects on my own, because the way you learn is by doing. But every time I tried to do so, I would feel like it was beyond the current abilities that I had. And so my conclusion was that I need to go watch more tutorials, I need to go consume more educational content, and then maybe the next time when I go back to it, I'll be in a position where I am, capable enough to be one of those people that goes out and builds things on their own. And I'm not gonna lie, I was in this situation for probably like a year or two, because I wasn't actively taking courses in programming, and so I was trying to learn on my own. I was trying and failing over and over, and I wasn't making much progress. And the only way that I started to get better at programming was when I was forced to pick it up on my own. So I joined a research group. We were doing some data science stuff in Python, and when I applied to join the group, they're like, Python? And I was like, yeah, I know Python. In the back of my head, I'm like, dude, I know like what a print statement is. I know like the very basics, but I don't know how to build anything tangible. But, I really wanted to be in this research group, and it was kind of like a fake it till you make it thing, where I'm like, well, if I get into this group, I'm just going to lock in and figure out how to, I'm going to figure out whatever programming it is I need to figure out to be, a useful contributor. I ended up getting into that group, and they started assigning me work, and now I had direction. I said, okay, I've got this thing that I'm supposed to do this week. they're expecting me to do this, you know, it's show up or don't show up now. And so I had like a project or, you know, an assignment or something they would want me to do, a simulation they want me to run. And there was not like a strict timeline, but it was expected like, hey, we need to make some progress on this every week for our weekly meeting, so you have something to update on. Once I had a fixed goal that had been set out for me, it became way easier to learn. When I knew, hey, I need to implement this neural network, I need to do X, Y, and Z, at that point, there was no going back and forth to tutorials. There was no more wondering if my abilities were up to par. It was, are my abilities up to par? If they're not, I'm going to figure out how to get them up to par, and I'm going to build this project. I'm going to build this, you know, I'm going to write this script. I'm going to do whatever. And so the point that I'm driving home here is that the only way I was able to escape tutorial hell is because I placed myself in a situation where I didn't have a choice, where I had to learn and I had to make these things by myself. Otherwise, you know, I'm going to disappoint these people who took a chance on me by letting me into this research group. But I don't think everybody has to struggle with this as much as I did. So if you recognize you're in this same destructive loop of you're trying to learn, you're trying to figure out how to actually become competent with whether it's programming or machine learning, and you keep doing these tutorials, but then when you go off and try to do things on your own, you feel overwhelmed or inept or not good enough, you just have to set out a goal of something you're going to do. Pick a project, pick something, and you just have to relentlessly pursue it. Say, I'm not going to do anything else. I'm not going to watch any more tutorials. I'm going to build this thing, and if it takes me a month to build it, if I have to go back and relearn some fundamentals to have, you know, the requirements to be able to make this thing, then that's what I'll do. But what you can't do is you can't hop back and forth between projects, starting and stopping and not finishing them. That's how you make no progress. That's how you do stuff for a year and end up nowhere. I'm speaking from experience because that's exactly what I did. I would make little projects, I'd make some progress on them, I'd become overwhelmed, I'd go back to tutorials, I'd get interested in something else, start a new project, make a little bit of progress, stop, not finish it, not really get anything out of it. And I did that for an embarrassingly long amount of time. And sometimes I think about how much further I'd be right now if I had the ability to just, you know, rein in my thought process and just be like, no, dude, stop. You're not doing another tutorial. You're not switching to another project. You're just going to stick with this one thing and you're going to finish it. And in finishing it, you're going to learn a lot of things along the way that A, you will use in the future, and B, you would not have encountered or even known existed otherwise if you weren't motivated to find them and research them and learn them to accomplish the goal or the project that you set out for yourself and decided to actually finish. And so I've been talking about this in the context of computer science, right? But this is absolutely true in machine learning as well. I'm going to give you an example. So right around the time when AI was becoming more mainstream, like 2024, 2020, going into early 2025, when it was still picking up and people knew about it, but few people were actively, you know, trying to understand how it works. I knew what a transformer was. I knew that it was a type of neural network. It was special. It was good at working with text, but I didn't really understand any of the technical implementation details, which is important. That's something you need to know because I'm a machine learning engineer. That's what my profession is about. It's not just about transformers, but a great deal of what we work with is transformer based nowadays because those tend to be some of the most effective models. And so I knew in the back of my head, hey, I need to understand how transformers worked, but oftentimes when I tried to do that, I would feel overwhelmed. I'd watch a video on attention and I'd be like, you know, I mean, I kind of get it, but I kind of don't. Like, why are we doing multiple heads on multi-head attention? What's the point of that? You know, is there a reason we're calling these different tensors keys and values and queries? Is there something, is that just convention? Is there actually a material difference between them? All of these things, I had all these questions, and oftentimes I would watch these videos and I would trick myself into believing that I actually understood what I watched, and in so doing, I would avert having to really sit down and dig deep and understand this myself. And so I'd watch videos on, you know, this is what attention is. This is what, you know, a transformer encoder block is. This is what a transformer decoder block is. This is how cross attention works. And I would nod my head and I'm like, yeah, I feel like I'm learning. But then if you ask me to actually implement it, or if you ask me to explain the fine-grained details of how a transformer worked, I would not have been able to do it. I would watch videos on implementing transformers, and very quickly I would realize that I was in over my head, and I would try to do it myself too. I'd be like, okay, let me try to build a transformer from scratch. Let's look at, what's the first step? I need to do, you need to do tokenization, right? And I would maybe get the tokenization part done, and then I'd become overwhelmed, and I realized, hey, this is harder than I thought. This is a bigger project than I thought. Maybe let me try to focus on implementing attention. Let me try to focus on implementing layer norm or things like that. And I would hop around to these projects, and I would make tiny little bits of progress that were transient, because I never finished it and I never cemented it into an overall project that had an enduring effect on me that I could actually remember. And so if you are trying to learn machine learning and you understand, hey, there are all these models that I need to understand, there are all these different things that I should really understand, first off, you need to implement them yourself. And some people might disagree with me, but I'm a big believer that unless you can build something and implement it yourself, you don't really understand it. And that doesn't mean that you're able to implement the whole thing from memory, but you should generally be able to implement something, with minimal outside assistance if you understand it. If you don't understand it, then chances are you're not going to be able to implement it. It's pretty simple. And some people say you don't need to do the implementation yourself. You just need to understand on the high level. That's true to an extent, but honestly, if you're a machine learning engineer, you need to be able to pull these models back and look at how they behave under the hood, understand how they're constructed, and how you need to edit them. For example, my last internship, I had an issue where I was doing padding incorrectly, and so the model was training on the prompt rather than the actual content that I wanted it to train on with supervised fine-tuning. If I didn't know how the tokenization worked and how the attention mask worked and how all of these things worked, I would have been completely hopeless to solve this issue. All I would have been able to do is maybe ask AI and hope that it figured it out for me. But because I actually did eventually implement a transformer myself and I did do these things, I escaped tutorial hell. I was much better off for it. And so eventually I did. I read Vaswani's paper end to end. I implemented the whole transformer myself. It took a long ass time, but it was really informative, and I understood it better than almost anybody else, because how many people actually read the paper and then built the thing themselves? It's got to be a pretty small group of people, but once you do that, you really understand it. You can't trick yourself because you've had to build every single part of it. And so you can't just watch a video and convince yourself that you understand it. You have definitive proof that you do understand it. And so the advice that I want to impart on whoever's watching this video, if you feel like you're also stuck in tutorial hell, you just have to summon up the willpower to find a project and complete it. It doesn't matter if you feel overwhelmed. I mean, obviously, the project does need to be reasonable. Like if you just learned how to use Python, you shouldn't be making like a full stack app with like all sorts of crazy stuff going on. Like start within reason. What you're trying to do should be on the periphery of your ability. It should be right at the edge of what you're able to do, so that it's challenging, but not so challenging that it's impossible. Once you've identified what that is, you need to focus on it and you need to complete it. You can't hop to the next shiny thing that's more interesting. You need to focus, learn what you need to learn to accomplish whatever it is you set out to do. And once you've done that a couple times with a couple of projects, once you have some projects under your belt that you really did build yourself and that you actually completed from start to finish, that's how you're going to start to learn and develop these skills. Because when you're in a work environment, an industry, that's exactly how it works. You have deadlines that you have to start and finish, and as you do those things, oftentimes you learn stuff along the way. But it's easier in a work environment because constraints and deadlines and finishing things are enforced on you. But when you're learning yourself, you're the only person that can hold yourself accountable. So it's easier said than done. Believe me, I know, because I struggled with it for 2 years. But if you're learning programming, if you're learning machine learning or AI or any of that, whatever you want to call it, you need to be project driven and you need to finish those projects. I'm not saying never watch tutorials, but the ratio of tutorials to projects that you do needs to be like 20 to 80. So 20% tutorials, maybe 80% you building stuff on your own. And when you build stuff on your own, you're going to figure out things that you don't know and you need to know in the process of doing so. And that's how you learn and that's how you get better. So I hope you guys found this video helpful. I really wish I had someone tell this to me this directly when I was first starting to learn this stuff, because it would have saved me so much time and I would have grown so much quicker. But that's really all I wanted to say in this video. I hope it helps you guys out. If you're in the situation that I've described with tutorial hell, please leave a comment. I would love to help you out. I feel like this is something so many people struggle with, and it doesn't have to be this way. And I just want to talk about it so other people know that they're not alone and that this is something you can overcome, even though it's difficult. With that being said, guys, I'm trying to make a community of people that are interested and passionate about math and machine learning. I'm going to have a Discord link in the description for you to join. Also, I have a tutoring business. If you or somebody you know needs help in math at the high school or university level or ACT, SAT prep, book a free consultation at my website and I'll figure out how we can help you and how we can go ahead and get started and improve whatever it is you need help on. So get a free consultation, go to www.kehrtutoring.com. That's Kuehr tutoring.com. Link's going to be in the description for the website and the Discord. Other than that, you guys have a good one. Bye.